Social media is not the smartest way to turn your expertise into $1 million online.
If you're a business owner with deep expertise in your field, posting online could actually be the exact reason why you're stuck.
So in this video, you'll discover what the smartest way to turn your expertise into $1 million really looks like that we found after generating over $1.2 million online without social media at all.
Why you've never heard of it before.
And why this works so well, specifically if you're an expert. Expert meaning you're a speaker.
You have a low ticket membership.
You sell high ticket programs, whether that's group, one-on-one, or anything in between.
Now, before we break this down, what exactly do we mean when we say the smartest way?
Well, the smartest way simply means the way that achieves the goal with the least amount of actions. Clear?
Clear.
Now, with any of those vehicles, the principle is the same. To sell your expertise online and to turn it into $1 million, people have to trust you enough to want to pay you.
You don't say, Tig.
Thank you, Anthony. And most business owners assume that the only way to build trust online is through social media.
But that leads them to spend years posting content that doesn't grow their business. Because when we look at building trust through the lens of the smartest way, social media is perhaps one of the dumbest way because it requires you to take an insanely high amount of action.
And the easiest way to show you that is this. Take the 7-hour rule, for example, which came from Daniel Priestley's book, Oversubscribed. The rule is that it takes 7 hours of total time that someone has to spend interacting with your content to build the necessary trust, understanding, and desire to want to buy from you.
7 hours doesn't seem too much.
Well,
if you're doing this on social media, each piece of content might get 30 seconds of interaction, meaning you'd have to produce 840 pieces of content for someone to spend 7 hours with you.
Ooh. But let's not exaggerate. What about if the content is really good?
Well, even if the majority of the clips you create, people engage with them for, let's say, 60 seconds, that's still near enough 500 pieces of content that you would have to make just to get someone ready to buy from you.
And you know what else that means? 500 hooks, 500 captions, 500 payoffs
that you would have to create.
The only way you can possibly keep up with that kind of volume is by becoming completely dependent on AI.
Now, personally, I hate the idea of building an authentic personal brand off the back of inauthentic AI content writing my content. But look, that's just me.
So as you can see, posting short form content on social media is not at all the smartest way to make $1 million, which really begs the question, well, how do you build up 7 hours of time interacting with you online without social media?
Well, that question leads most people to longer form content, where each piece of content you create accounts for way more time your audience spends with you, which makes it way easier for them to build trust with you.
And long form content usually refers to YouTube or a podcast, which also work way better for experts anyway, because naturally you have a lot longer to fully express your expertise. No matter what on-trend hook you're using on your short-form clips, you just can't really fully express your expertise in 30 or 60 seconds. So as we can see here visually, we start with the fact that we have to use content to build trust online if we want to be able to sell our expertise in the millions. Given that social media isn't a viable option for that, we're now down to YouTube versus a podcast.
So look, given that the smartest way is the one that requires the least amount of action, which one out of the two, podcast versus YouTube, actually requires the least amount of actions to keep up?
Well, after working with hundreds of business owners who have both podcast and YouTube channels, it's pretty clear to us that one of these mediums is pretty easygoing.
And the other is as easygoing as the butt cheeks of a lactose intolerant public speaker reading the small print on their milkshake before stepping on stage and then realizing it wasn't lactose free.
So with those very high stakes in mind, we best give you a comparison of the weekly actions required with a YouTube channel versus an audio podcast. So here are the things for each one that you have to do on a weekly basis. You ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to take it in turns.
Let's do it.
So for YouTube, there is recording content.
And for audio podcasts, recording content.
Well, on YouTube, there's titles and descriptions.
And of course, with audio, we have title descriptions as well.
Next up, we have lighting.
You got to think about lighting.
We have thumbnails.
Oh my God, you got to be joking. You have to think about lighting and the thumbnails as well. That's a lot of time, isn't it?
Getting good at presenting on camera?
Getting good at presenting. Have you seen this guy on camera? And now you're going to spend even more time to get good on camera. Bloody hell, that's going to take a decade.
Do you have to do chapter markers?
Oh my, you're joking, right? There's no way you're telling me as a busy entrepreneur and expert that you have time to record, do titles, the lighting, thumbnails, your bloody thumbnails, and you have to get good at presenting. And I've seen this guy on camera. And now you've got to do the chapters as well. Are you a bookkeeper?
On YouTube, we also have the matter of getting viewers not to click the other 6 videos on their sidebar while watching yours.
I think this guy's just taking a piss here. Look, I have to just sit down, record a podcast. Could be my bosses.
Okay. I've had enough. Audio podcasting requires one skill, talking clearly about your expertise. Oh, and the titles and descriptions, which if you're genuinely an expert, you can already do.
Whereas YouTube requires that and then the rest.
The rest?
The rest, Tyke.
And that's why when we run YouTube through the same filter, the fewest actions to build that 7 hours of trust, it falls flat on its face or it gets punched in the face by the long arm of podcasting.
And that's why after working with 300 plus business owners who have experimented with both YouTube and audio podcasts, time and time again, we've seen them end up giving up YouTube because it has so many moving parts where they just feel completely overwhelmed, versus audio podcasts, which requires far less time, energy, and resources to keep up in their already busy lives. So again, we're clear that we need content to build trust because apparently, according to Tyke, people don't just hand you money without trusting you first. And we know that the smartest way in order to build trust is through longer form content that people can consume. But after looking at what's actually required when it comes to YouTube versus audio podcast, like Tyke mentioned, it's very clear that audio podcast is the smartest way if you're a busy business owner or expert.
But having spoken to thousands of business owners with podcasts, we know that with this opportunity comes what is, in my opinion, a very sad truth, which is what?
The majority of business owners put their soul into creating amazing podcasts, but make one fatal mistake that means they never get their listeners to see them as the expert they should buy from.
And without this next part, you'll probably get 0 clients from your podcast while your guest steals them all for themselves.
Wait, what's wrong with guests?
Well, when it comes to using a podcast to build trust and convert prospects into buyers, everything is wrong with guests.
When you think about a podcast, the first thing that pops into your mind is likely having an amazing conversation and building out your network by having guests on your show. But look, here's a problem that most business owners and experts completely miss that keeps them stuck. So you start by bringing a guest to interview on your podcast.
They share their expertise in the interview.
Listeners sees them as the experts and wants to buy from them and not you.
And now you've just spent an hour advertising someone else for free.
So are we saying that starting a podcast makes you a clown?
No, it's actually the smartest way to turn your expertise into $1 million. But only if you ditch the guests, ditch the interviews, and do a solo show. Because a prospect listening to a guest interview builds that 7 hours of trust, but with the guests, not with you. Whereas on the other hand, when you start a solo podcast,
when it's just you with a mic, it means you share your expertise on every single episode.
Which means the listeners see you as the expert and want to buy from you.
And that's how you're able to turn your expertise into $1 million with your solo podcast.
So clearly, the difference between a guest podcast and a solo one is monumental. Look at Joshua, who had his podcast Sales Made Simple for over 2 years. Now, because of the sea of celebrity interview shows, the whole world thinks that podcasts are just weekly interviews. And most business owners with podcasts completely sleep on the real opportunity to use it in a much smarter way where listeners see them as the expert.
So Joshua interviewed guests for 2 years only to find out it was a terrible strategy that didn't lead to his listeners wanting to work with him.
But once he made the switch to do solo episodes, he made $16,000 in his first week of doing them. Because every prospect who listens to your solo podcast spends 7 hours building trust with you, not your guest.
Say it louder for people at the back.
Okay, I will. A solo podcast is the smartest path to $1 million online. Because you're the one demonstrating expertise episode after episode. You are the obvious choice in your prospect's mind when it comes to getting help to solve their problem.
That's exactly how Kyle and John were able to build massive authority in their spaces build a huge audience around their brand, and add $1 million to their pipeline by them prioritizing solo podcast episodes over strictly just guest interviews.
So you've discovered that the smartest way to turn your expertise into $1 million online is in fact not social media.
Big surprise.
Now, YouTube isn't a bad way to do it,
Not bad.
but there's a much smarter way to do it with way less actions required to turn your expertise into $1 million.
And that's with a solo podcast.
So right now you're probably wondering, is this really possible for me?
If I start one, how much money will I make?
How are podcasts even going to hold up in the future with AI and everything going on in the world?
Well, look, that's exactly why we created a full guide on how to get clients with solo podcasts. So you can click somewhere on the screen right now, and you'll see the exact proof and mechanisms behind all of those questions and more.